I get drunk on my birthday, and I get drunk on New Year.
Well, sir, I took my first shot of Sharp when I was probably eight years old.
Whole Grammy crowd.
DMX, that's my dog, right? He the only person that ever got me to drink Hennessy.
They stood in front of millions. Their names echoed through arenas. Their music shaped generations. But behind closed doors, many of these rap icons were drowning not in fame, but in liquor. These aren't just exaggerated tales, we're talking about real arrests, tragic deaths, and confessions caught on camera.
He took the whole big bottle straight.
From legends who couldn't perform without a drink, to stars who drank themselves into oblivion. This is the untold truth of 15 rappers who were drunk all the time. Starting with number 1, Juice WRLD. Juice WRLD wasn't just rapping about being drunk, he was living it. There's a now famous story from Lil Bibby, one of Juice's mentors, who revealed that Juice downed an entire bottle of Hennessy by himself before recording Robbery.
Yeah. The bottle is this big, and it was Hennessy. He finished the whole.
And not only did he drink, he freestyled the entire track in one emotional, liquor-fueled take. At the start of the session, he mumbled into the mic, "This Hennessy strong as f***." And just like that, a hit was born.
He was like, in the beginning of the song, like, "This Hennessy strong as fuck." Yeah. He just freestyled the whole.
But behind the freestyles and fame was a 21-year-old unraveling under pressure. Known for his emotional vulnerability and brutally honest lyrics, Juice often masked his pain with substances, and alcohol was a major part of that routine. Friends say he drank before shows, during studio sessions, even while traveling. It became part of his process and part of his downfall. On December 8, 2019, Juice WRLD collapsed from a seizure at Chicago's Midway Airport. The official cause of death was codeine and oxycodone toxicity, but insiders confirmed that alcohol was also in his system, yet again blurring the line between party and poison. Juice WRLD's music spoke to a generation of heartbroken, emotionally lost fans, but his own demons ran deeper than most ever realized. He wasn't just a rock star spiraling out. He was a kid gifted, sensitive, and overwhelmed who never got the chance to heal. And that's what makes his story hit the hardest. Next is number 2, Fat Joe. Fat Joe never hid his love for alcohol. In fact, he embraced it. There's a legendary story about a party he once hosted where Jay-Z reportedly sent over $80,000 worth of Ace of Spades just to celebrate.
Last year I had my birthday. Jay-Z has sent over $80,000 worth.
The bottles were so massive, they needed 2 people to carry them. It wasn't just a toast, it was a statement. But for Joe, drinking wasn't always about celebration. In interviews, he's opened up about how the 90s, especially during his time with Big Pun, were filled with what he called drunk and wild days. He admitted that he and Pun would drink from morning to night. They didn't care what it was. It wasn't about the flavor, it was about the feeling, the escape. Behind the luxury lifestyle was a man carrying trauma from the streets, from success, and from loss. After Big Pun passed away, Joe confessed to spiraling deeper into that party lifestyle just to cope with the pain. He later said, "I started drinking.
Never drank in my life. I start drinking. I get real fat. Remember Fat Joe got really out of shit."
So when you see those champagne showers and VIP sections in old footage, know this: it wasn't all fun. For Fat Joe, the bottles may have sparkled, but the reasons behind them were dark. Up next is number 3, Beanie Sigel. In the early 2000s, Beanie Sigel was a force in the Rockefeller camp, raw, fearless, and razor-sharp with his lyrics. But while the world saw a rising rap star, Beanie was quietly battling demons of his own and drowning them in alcohol. His legal record reads like a cry for help: multiple DUIs, public intoxication, and bar fights. In one case, he was arrested for punching a man outside a Philadelphia club, reportedly while drunk. But the truth ran deeper than just bad decisions. In later interviews, Beanie admitted, "We were drunk off champagne, syrup, and pain." That line wasn't just a clever bar, it was his reality. The champagne in those flashy music videos, it wasn't about celebrating, it was a mask. A cover-up for unresolved trauma, loss, and pressure. Sigel often talked about how the fame came fast, but so did the isolation. He was living large on the outside, but feeling empty inside. And alcohol became the bridge between his persona and his pain. His voice might have cut through beats like a knife, but his vision, it was clouded. Not by failure, but by the very lifestyle he thought he needed to survive. Which brings us to number 4, DMX. Before DMX became a rap icon, the gravel voice powerhouse behind Party Up and Rough Riders Anthem, he was just Earl Simmons, a kid from Yonkers, battling pain the world couldn't see. And one of the tools he used to cope was alcohol. DMX's rap sheet is nearly as long as his discography. Multiple arrests, jail time, courtroom meltdowns, all played out in public. But one arrest in South Carolina said more than most. Police reported that the smell of alcohol pouring off his body was so intense, it made it into the official report. It wasn't just a drink, it was a warning sign. His public struggles reached a heartbreaking peak when he appeared on Ian Levanzant's Fix My Life. Viewers watched as DMX slurred, lashed out, and stumbled through emotional confessions. At one point, Ian tweeted, "His heart is wounded, and he may be afraid to admit it." The world saw a man unraveling live, unfiltered, and deeply broken. But here's the tragic truth. DMX never pretended to be anything he wasn't. He rapped about pain because he lived in it. He drank because he couldn't escape it. And in his own words, he didn't care what people thought. In the end, DMX wasn't just battling addiction, he was battling decades of trauma, abandonment, and abuse. His legacy? Unmatched. His pain? Unforgettable. And for a man who gave everything in his music, alcohol became both his crutch and his curse. Now at number 5, Old Dirty Bastard. Old Dirty Bastard wasn't just unpredictable, he was unapologetically chaotic, and alcohol was often fueling the madness. At the 1998 Grammys, just as folk singer Sean Colvin stepped up to accept her award, ODB stormed the stage. Clutching his clothes and slurring his words, he declared, "Wu-Tang is for the children." It made headlines for days, wild, hilarious, and deeply concerning. But that moment wasn't isolated. During a Mariah Carey recording session for Fantasy, ODB showed up 3 hours late, demanded champagne, screamed profanities on the phone, and then passed out mid-session. He managed just one iconic line, "Me and Mariah go back like babies with pacifiers." Then, he was done. The engineers had to build a hit around that one sentence. When it came time to shoot the video, he was drunk again, draining the limo bar dry, refusing to wear a shirt, and stumbling through takes. For years, fans called it ODB being ODB, but behind the jokes was a man unraveling. This wasn't a character. It wasn't branding. It was addiction, front and center, and no one around him knew how to stop it. He was loud, legendary, and ultimately lost in the bottle. Holding down number 6, Eminem. By the early 2000s, Eminem was at the top of the world, but privately, he was slipping fast. He once admitted that he was drunk through most of the filming of 8 Mile, the movie that earned him an Oscar and global praise. In interviews, M said he couldn't even remember parts of the shoot because of the pills and alcohol. "I was taking so many pills that I wasn't even taking them to get high anymore," he later confessed. "I was taking them just to feel normal." The alcohol was just as relentless. From vodka to Valium, M was chasing numbness around the clock. He referred to himself as a functioning addict, someone who appeared in control even as everything was falling apart. And for a while, it worked. He toured, he recorded, he acted, but it was all smoke and mirrors. In 2007, the illusion shattered. Eminem overdosed on methadone and was just hours from Doctors told him he had taken the equivalent of 4 bags of That moment, lying in a hospital bed, not knowing how he got there, changed everything. He spent weeks in detox and months in recovery. Today, M is over 15 years sober, but he doesn't glamorize his past. He calls it what it was: denial, destruction, and near death. The irony? The man who rapped about his demons was being by them, quietly, privately, until the bottle almost took it all. Sliding in at number 7, Gucci Mane. In the late 2000s, Gucci Mane was hip-hop's wild card, unpredictable, untamed, and almost always intoxicated. He racked up arrests like mixtapes, and many of those incidents involved alcohol-fueled violence. One of the most infamous moments? Gucci pushed a woman out of a moving car after an argument and incident that landed him in jail and became a symbol of how far gone he was. Behind the scenes, things were even darker. In an interview with the New York Times, Gucci confessed, "I felt like I couldn't make music sober. I was numb. Booze wasn't a party for him. It was a form of drowning out depression, paranoia, and trauma." Friends said he would show up to the studio drunk, slur his lyrics, and pass out before finishing a track. It all came to a head in 2014 when he was sentenced to prison. Locked away from the bottle for the first time in years, Gucci said it felt like waking up from a nightmare. That's when the transformation began. He got clean, got fit, and came out a completely different person. Today, he's a family man and business mogul, but don't let that polished image fool you. Gucci Mane was once a Category 5 storm, fueled by pain and liquor, and he barely survived it. Coming in at number 8, Machine Gun Kelly. Machine Gun Kelly wasn't just a rock star who drank too much, he was spiraling. In a 2024 interview, he admitted he was drunk every single day for years. From backstage benders to blackout studio sessions, alcohol became his emotional armor, a shield against trauma, anxiety, and inner chaos. But that shield was him. He revealed on the Dumb Blonde podcast that after his European tour in 2023, he quietly checked into rehab his first time ever. "They gave me so many ways to operate the body and show where this anger is coming from," he said. The root of his drinking wasn't fame, it was pain. A deep psychological wound he hadn't faced until he was forced to stop. MGK credits his daughter Casey and fiancée Megan Fox for saving his life. Casey once told him, "Dad, I know you're high," and that broke him. Megan, he says, saw the real him even before he did. "I love that I'm clear when I look at the person I love," he said. Today, MGK is 1 year sober. But sobriety isn't the finish line, it's the fight. He's not just rebuilding his career, he's rebuilding himself, one day at a time. Sliding into number 9, Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg may be the king of cool, but behind the chilled out image was a man who drank like the party never ended. While the world associates him with alcohol was always riding shotgun. From the early gin and juice days to modern day club appearances, Snoop has never hidden his love for the bottle. He once said in an interview, "Sometimes I drink just to feel normal." That line hit different because it exposed what fans never saw. The man who danced on stages and dropped iconic verses wasn't always vibing. Sometimes he was numbing. Tour crews have described Snoop as always faded, whether it was Hennessy in the dressing room or champagne during flights. Even his music videos from the Death Row era show him pouring up more than just creativity. His signature cup became a part of his look not just for show, but for survival. Alcohol wasn't just an accessory, it was a tool, a crutch. And while he's never spiraled publicly like others on this list, the years of quiet sipping spoke volumes. Weed may be his trademark, but Snoop's real soundtrack? It was laced with liquor and legacy. Next up at number 10, Schoolboy Q. Schoolboy Q once said his best verses came with a buzz, a bottle of Hennessy in hand, a mic in front of him that was the formula. For years, alcohol wasn't just part of the process, it was the process. He laughed on Hot Ones about drinking before every show, before every session, even before interviews. The liquor flowed like lyrics. And for a while it worked. Albums like Oxymoron and Blank Face LP brought him critical acclaim, radio hits, and a cemented spot in TDE's elite. But the high didn't last. As his fame grew, the blackouts got worse. And one day, reality hit harder than any hangover. Q admitted he started forgetting key moments with his daughter, things he was physically present for, but mentally erased. "I'd black out and forget," he confessed. "That scared me." That fear sparked a change. The same man who once rapped about parties and pills started talking about patience and peace. He found therapy in an unexpected place, golf. It grounded him, gave him structure. Today, Schoolboy Q speaks openly about cutting back, refocusing, and finding joy outside the bottle. But make no mistake, during his peak, he was in a constant haze. His verses were sharp, his image solid, but his memory blurry. Alcohol was his creative partner and personal poison until he finally said, "Enough." And that might be the realest line Q's ever delivered. Coming in hot at number 11, Mac Miller. Mac Miller was the life of the party, at least. That's what it looked like. Always smiling, always joking, always vibing. But behind the colorful beats and confident verses was a young man wrestling with darkness. And one of his oldest vices? Alcohol. In his early mixtape days, Mac casually joked about drinking. Red Solo cups, whiskey shots, bottles on tour buses, it all felt like part of the fun. But as the fame got louder, so did the silence inside him. Friends close to Mac revealed that alcohol was always within reach, not just for parties, but for peace. He once told Rolling Stone, "It's easy to get wrapped up in it, and it's hard to tell when it's too much." After his public battle with Mac tried to clean up. He stopped using harder substances, got more focused on his art, and began therapy. But even then, alcohol stuck around that silent shadow that never left. And while it didn't make the headlines like lean or pills, it still played its part in the unraveling. His in 2018 shook the music world. Officially, it was an accidental overdose on and alcohol. But emotionally, it was years of numbing layered in plain sight. Behind the glow of his talent was a young man drowning slowly and smiling through it. Mac Miller didn't want to be a tragedy, he just wanted to feel okay. And for a while, the bottle helped him pretend. Now coasting in at number 12, Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne wasn't just sipping lean, he was swimming in it. But what often gets overshadowed is just how much alcohol played a role in his downward spiral. From Remy Martin to Hennessy, Wayne made liquor a lyrical staple. It was in his verses, in his hands, and on full display in interviews, photo shoots, and even courtroom appearances. The cup was never empty, and neither was the pain. At the height of his career, Wayne passed out mid-performance on stage. Many assumed it was lean, but close insiders said alcohol was just as much a factor. He became known for his infamous double cup, but the truth? There was rarely just one substance in it. Then came the seizures. Over the years, Lil Wayne has suffered multiple terrifying health scares, collapsing on planes, being rushed to the ICU, and even being placed in critical condition. While he's claimed epilepsy, fans and critics alike have pointed fingers at chronic substance abuse. And the sad part? No one really knew what to believe anymore. Wayne's interviews during that time were often slurred, unpredictable. He once even said, "I don't do drugs, I just drink syrup," as if that made it better. Today, he's still standing, still performing, still legendary. But there was a point when Lil Wayne wasn't just partying, he was self-destructing in public. And the liquor wasn't helping him rap better. It was helping him feel nothing at all. Cruising in at number 13, Rick Ross. Rick Ross built his brand on luxury Maybachs, gold chains, private jets, and of course, endless bottles. Champagne wasn't just a flex in his music videos, it was a constant in his real life. He once admitted that drinking was part of the image part of the persona of the boss. But that image nearly cost him his life. In 2011, Ross collapsed mid-flight, suffering a seizure so severe the plane had to make an emergency landing. Just hours later, it happened again. Fans were stunned. At first, weight was blamed, but close sources told TMZ and other outlets that it wasn't just his size, it was his lifestyle. The heavy drinking, the long nights, the non-stop pace. Then in 2018, it happened again. Another seizure, another hospital stay, another reminder that behind the champagne showers was a body breaking down. Ross later admitted in interviews that he had to scale back. He said, "I used to wake up and pour lean and champagne. That was my breakfast." Eventually, the glamour faded and the hangovers hit harder. He's still sipping today, but not like before. Because Rick Ross learned the hard way, even bosses can break down. Gliding in at number 14, AP Yams. Steven Rodriguez, better known as AP Yams, wasn't just the mastermind behind AP Mob. He was the glue, the energy, the architect who helped shape the careers of artists like AP Rocky, Ferg, and Nas. But behind the brilliance was a man battling his own demons, and the bottle was always in reach. Yams was legendary for his sense of humor, raw industry knowledge, and unfiltered Twitter presence. But his tweets didn't just talk about music or life advice, they were full of Henny-fueled confessions, late-night rants, and party recaps that painted a picture of constant indulgence. Friends and collaborators often described him as the one who turned up the hardest and never turned down. In 2015, the world lost Yams at just 26 years old. His death was officially ruled an accidental overdose involving opioids and benzodiazepines. But insiders and those close to him say alcohol was a daily part of his mix, a dangerous foundation that only made everything else riskier. His passing was a gut punch for the culture, not just because of the loss, but because it reflected a growing trend in hip-hop. Behind every hit and every celebration was a cocktail of substances numbing the pain. Yams wasn't just partying, he was self-medicating. And his death forced a generation to look in the mirror and ask how many of our icons are hurting behind the hype. His legacy? Still massive, but so is the cautionary tale. And finally, number 15, Travis Scott. Travis Scott built a brand around chaos, from moshing fans to raging stages. His energy was unmatched. But that wild image didn't stop at the stage. According to multiple crew members and insiders, Travis was often seen drinking before and after shows. Some even claimed he'd be slurring his words moments before grabbing the mic, yet still delivering high-octane performances. Following the tragic Astroworld incident in 2021, where 10 people lost their lives, reports surfaced suggesting Travis was drinking more heavily to cope with the guilt and pressure. Though he's never publicly addressed having a drinking problem, those close to him say alcohol has long been a part of his daily routine. Fans once cheered for the Rager lifestyle, but now some are starting to wonder, when does the performance end and when does the pain begin? For Travis, the bottle may be both fuel and escape. And that's the list: 15 rappers who weren't just stars, but victims of the bottle they couldn't put down. If this is just the surface, how many more are still battling it in silence?